The overall positive reception of the Indigo Park video has been mind-blowing, and even more so your thoughts and theories in the comment section. Tonight, I wanted to highlight some of my favorite theories and points made by viewers, and a few more of my own, and say thank you for stopping by. If you haven't watched the previous video, you may want to do so, since I talk about some of my initial theories here as well. I'm Mo, and I like to talk about spooky games in a less spooky way. So sit back, get cozy, and let the nightmare begin. For starters, Dead Bunny 7878 stated one reason that Rambley doesn't recognize Ed could be because Ed was a kid when he came to the park. Now he's no longer recognizable because of normal changes made to the face as we age. And Starlight Rose also suggests that failure to recognize Ed could be because of Rambley's software not being updated regularly, making the guest list data corrupted and many of the files lost. Both are absolutely valid points. In my video, I was quick to think that Ed had visited another Indigo Park location in his youth, or that he stopped attending before Rambley AI was created. But these specific points focus more on Rambley's capabilities. Depending on the level of advancement of AI in this world, Rambley might not have a predictive age progression feature, so it would make sense not to recognize an older Ed. Rambley is also clearly glitchy, and corrupted or incomplete software could be the cause. Alex Cole 9325 had a fun theory about Rambley being the one to save us when Lloyd first attacks. The information transmitted to the critter cuff, which functions as a heart monitor among other things, gets sent to Rambley to further monitor guests. With this theory, although Rambley couldn't see us behind the main stage, he would have seen Ed's heart rate spike during the attack, alerting him to activate the critter cuff. Going with this train of thought, Rambley wouldn't have needed to activate the cuff during the first Lloyd jump scare. The crates fell, stopping him, and Ed, though initially startled, resumed his search for the key, allowing his vitals to normalize. This theory doesn't quite answer why the critter cuff doesn't work on Mollie, but as I said before, maybe it's because an appropriate deterrent for her hadn't been created yet. And then there's Nyeko Mimi's theory that focuses more on the experimentation of the mascots. They theorize that the blood on the animals isn't from a recent kill, but from a chimera-like experiment failing. They state that the mascots would likely require maintenance in the form of biopatches to prevent rejection between donor organs and their original bodies. But after 8 years of the park being closed, the process is starting to break down, resulting in the bleeding we see on the animals from the mouth, side, eyes, and skin. This led me to wonder if the animals are made up of human organs and DNA. Mollie isn't quite macaw size, but much taller, and as far as we know, can't fly with those winged four-fingered hands of hers, and Lloyd has the ability to walk on his hind legs. Like their cartoon counterparts, they're anthropomorphic, having human characteristics. So I wonder what poor human souls became part of these experiments. Could it have been previous guests or park employees? And speaking of experimentation, Pierce Lindenberg 6842 made a wonderful counterpoint to my theory about Isaac Indigo having a brother who now owns the park and watches Ed and the mascots throughout some of the cameras. They stated that it would be unlikely for Isaac or his alleged brother to still be alive, as according to Finley, the original cartoon characters are 100 years old, their creation around 1915 in the Indigo Park timeline. And if you recall, my theory was based on the many intentional parallels the developer Unique Geese included between Indigo Park and the Disney theme parks. The release of Rambley and Pals in 1915 would parallel the first time Mickey Mouse was made public in 1928 in Steamboat Willie, Walt being 27 years old at the time. And if Isaac's brother is a parallel to Walt's brother Roy, he would roughly be over 130 years old if he was somehow still alive. And I'll admit, age is a huge factor I didn't consider, so excited as I was about the unappreciated brother theory. But as I've always said, theorizing is just good fun for me, so in the name of fun, let's elaborate more on this theory, aka make an outlandish story from little evidence. Going off the chimera process theory, it's possible the animals have human DNA, organs, and tissue to make them anthropomorphic. Seeing the results of the mascots, Isaac has a thought. What if they can supplement parts from animals with really long lifespans, thereby making the test subject live a lot longer? He dies before the idea can be fully realized, but his brother carries on his work with the intention of bringing Isaac Indigo back. He was underappreciated in Isaac's shadow, sure, but he needs Isaac's creativity to continue expanding the franchise. And like Rambley, he's grown lonely without his brother and partner. But he's getting older fast, and he needs more time. Luckily, there exist animals like the Greenland shark, the bowhead whale, and some species of tortoise that can live beyond 200 years old. Thus, Isaac's brother becomes the last test subject. Disfigured from the experiment, he now hides away in the park, monitoring the mascots, noting the chimera process breaking down, studying their symptoms while maintaining his own body and working toward resurrection of his brother. This would parallel the cryogenic freezing rumor of Walt Disney and also Isaac Indigo's speech when he talks about the exciting potential of tomorrow, where dreams come true and echoes of days gone are brought back to life. Starlight Rose also makes an interesting counterpoint about Lloyd not being the original mascot of the park, because Rambley was the star of the Rambley and Pals cartoon, which predates the park itself. And I've seen various comments on Reddit theorizing that Lloyd was going to replace Rambley as the most popular character, but no thanks 7263 and I had similar thoughts. Lloyd is Rambley's Oswald. Let me explain. Before Walt Disney created Mickey Mouse, there was Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, created in 1927 by Walt and Ub Iwerks. Oswald was one of the first creations of Disney after he opened his animation studio in 1923. Oswald was in many cartoons produced by Disney for Universal Pictures, the Disney brothers using their salaries from these cartoons to further expand the animation studio. During a trip to New York to renew his contract for Oswald, however, Walt Disney learned that Oswald was the property of Universal Pictures due to contractual terms and strategic moves. Fast forward to 2006, and the Disney CEO of the time created an agreement to finally bring Oswald back to the Walt Disney Company. Since his return, he's been featured in animations, the park, and video games, more specifically, Epic Mickey. In this game, Oswald rules a place called the Wasteland, which is similar to Disneyland, altering notable areas in the park that used to feature Mickey with his own image. We learn from the game that Oswald is there as a result of being forgotten and becoming irrelevant, and he dislikes Mickey for his popularity, which Oswald felt he deserved. Rambley, the now more popular character like Mickey, feels resentment and annoyance toward Lloyd, who, like Oswald, is now less popular than we assume he once was. This is based on many things, like his face being removed from the main entrance with Rambley replacing it, his since-removed golden statue, Lloyd's limos changing to Rambley's railroad, and Ed's commentary on Lloyd's image being used a lot more in the park in the past, which is now no longer the case. Lloyd seems to be the one fading into oblivion, not Rambley. So why does Rambley dislike Lloyd so much? Well, there's his eccentric personality. He's a bit pompous, arrogant, full of himself, and Unique Geese said he genuinely feels like he's the best person in the world, and his behavior often causes tension in the group. We might also be able to assume that Lloyd predates Rambley, being the only mascot to have a retro plushie. We know Rambley was the star of Rambley and Pals, but what if Lloyd was the star once too, just like he was in the park? What if he, like Oswald, had his own show that predated Rambley and Pals, achieving a certain level of fame in his own right? Rambley might feel insecure about maintaining his status. Knowing of the previous success could make Rambley fear that Lloyd might reclaim his former glory, threatening Rambley's current position. In this scenario, it's Mickey or Rambley who feels like Oswald/Lloyd is arrogant and his previous popularity was undeserved. And perhaps, Rambley is jealous for one other reason. If you think about Isaac Indigo being the mascot's creator, he's like a father figure in a way. That would make Lloyd the older brother and Rambley the younger, who now more popular, might still feel eclipsed by Lloyd's shadow. Maybe the resentment he feels isn't from Lloyd's popularity with the park guest, but because he's Isaac's potentially favorite and first character. At the end of Chapter 1, as Rambley sings the Rambley Review, he says once all his old friends are united again, he won't feel so left behind. And I can't help but wonder, is he thinking of Isaac Indigo too? Does he feel abandoned because Isaac died, literally leaving him behind? Does he need to power the park in order to bring Isaac back in some way, so that Rambley can finally realize his place at his creator's side, to learn who is the true favorite in Isaac's heart? In the end, Rambley's journey wouldn't just be about reclaiming the lost glory of Indigo Park. It would be about finding his own glory and worth in the eyes of his creator. Whether we're right or wrong when theorizing games isn't really important to me. Sure, it's great when we get something right, but for me, there is so much fun and joy in just taking an idea within a game and breaking it down into all the what-ifs. the more logical ones and the more creative. There's immense value in theorizing. It's not just about getting it right, it's about diving deeper into the story and connecting with it. It's also about connecting with other people who genuinely love the game too. And I have loved reading your theories about Indigo Park and letting my mind run wild with new ideas as a result. But as always, I want to know what you think. Did you resonate with any of these theories? Do you have some of your own? And are you ready for the upcoming video about the bunny graveyard? If you enjoyed the theories I talked about today, please consider letting the individuals who made them know in the comments below. There are also a ton more theories and thoughts in the comments of the previous video. I would have loved to talk about them all, but I have a certain rabbit that I need to get back to. Thank you so much for watching. Here's another one of my videos. And as always, may your nightmares be strangely cozy.